Today's show is brought to you by Amrita Health Foods. To get your high protein bars, superfood bars, variety packs, or the new minis, check out amritahealthfoods.com and enter Plant Trainers as the promo code to get 15% off your order. And now on to today's show.
Welcome to the Plant Trainers Podcast, where we're helping people improve their quality of life through nutrition and fitness. And now, your hosts, nutrition and wellness coaches, international speakers, Adam and Shoshana Chaim.
Hey, I'm Adam Chaim.
And I'm Shoshana Chaim, and we are
Propelled by Plants. Today we bring to you episode 228, Support Leads to Success with Heather Kaufman.
In today's episode of the Plant Trainers Podcast, we talked to Heather Kaufman about how support was really the ultimate reason for success when her and her husband Tim went through various transitions from the standard American diet to whole food plant-based, no sugar, and no oil. As you'll hear in this episode, there were plenty of reasons for Heather to change her diet and lifestyle, but history predicted that diets were just a fad in the Kaufman household. That's why she dug deep and made a personal connection, and the memory of her mother created an urgency to adopt this new lifestyle. But at the end of the day, the respect and support that she gave Tim and he gave her allowed them to make the change. In turn, it's become sustainable and really created a difference in their quality of life.
Heather Kaufman had been dabbling with a plant-based way of eating when a doctor discovered that she had a uterine fibroid that was 14 centimeters long. She then went 100% plant-based, ditched the salt, oil, and the sugar, and she started exercising. As a result of Heather's lifestyle changes, she's healthy, active, and lives life to its fullest. As a side effect of getting healthy, she shed over 80 pounds and is now a competitive runner. Heather had never run a full mile until a few short years ago and is now an ultramarathoner. She's passionate about spreading the message that health comes from your plate and not a number on the scale.
We'd like to welcome everyone, whether you're a new listener or you've been with us from the beginning. Regardless, we're so grateful that you're here listening today. And a special shout out to our Patreon contributors. We wanted to let you know that we've made a few changes for all of our Plantiful Patreon peeps. For those of you who don't know what Patreon is, it's a simple way for you to contribute to the Plant Trainers Podcast every month, get super cool exclusive rewards in return. You'll love the perks at patreon.com/planttrainers. These contributions allow us to grow the podcast, expand our team, and create more awesome content for you. Even contributing $1 a month really helps, and it makes a big difference. We get a lot of feedback on our Instagram stories that Adam puts out all the time. Often people feel like goals are hard to achieve, it's useless putting in the effort, or everyone else is able to make things happen but they can't. Adam gives you motivation as well as his raw emotion and experiences to help you along the way on your journey. So what we've done is turned last month's stories into our monthly motivation compilation. It's a YouTube video for all of our Patreons who are contributing at least $3. It's worth the value right there. And then some. So if you don't get onto Instagram every 24 hours before it disappears to check out Adam's spiel, consider being a patron and get it all delivered into your inbox each month. You could find the links to Patreon and to work with us on our website and in our show notes.
And now for a moment of gratitude.
I'm grateful for family, extended family, and the opportunity to reconnect. Last night we were out for dinner with 3 cousins, and we hadn't seen them in over 10 years. And given the age difference, they were just kids when we knew them last, but we had a great time. And the way Adam's smiling now, it looks like I stole his moment of gratitude.
You did, and that's okay because we could be grateful for the same thing, and it just gives me the opportunity to reflect on how valuable that is, and reconnecting with family members and creating friendships with them. It's really amazing. And last night it was a lot of fun getting together with them, so I'm really grateful for that too.
Heather Kaufman, thank you so much for being on the Plant Trainers Podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have a moment of gratitude that you'd like to share with us and our listeners?
Yes, I would. I'm grateful for the poem that my mom had wrote down that I had found after she had passed away, and it was called We Choose. And basically it says that we decide if we're happy or not, or how we want to live. And she was just amazing, and she lived her life to the fullest that she could before she got sick. So it's a nice reminder for all of us to have that we choose every day how we're going to be and how we're going to live.
That is a really good reminder. And I find that I kind of had that conversation with my own daughter today, where she lost the bracelet that Adam had brought back from Ecuador, and she came home really, really upset. And she said, "It's the worst day of my life. It's the worst day ever." And we kind of talked about how moments in time can be pretty bad, but our whole day doesn't have to be depicted by those moments, and we could still choose to have a good day if we wanted to. So that kind of ties in nicely with that conversation I had with her today.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk to you today because you have had such an amazing transition. You, along with Tim Kaufman, who was on episode 135 with us as well. And I know that you've both gone through a huge transition, and it's been so much more than just weight loss for both of you. So we wanted to talk a little bit about what your life was like before the whole plant-based world entered your life.
Well, when our children were younger, I did a lot of the cooking, so it was just very quick and easy, the fastest things you could do, and not healthy food at all, nothing really great. And then it turned into, when the kids got older, like we were eating out constantly and never having anything healthy. And it was just however we could get food the fastest and the quickest for our day. That's how we lived. And, you'd think, oh, you'd have a salad or something. No, that's healthy. But really, you weren't healthy. I had a lot of weight gain and after my children, and I kept it on for a long time after. And even as they were into teens, I had gained more weight just from not eating healthy. And, I could feel it. I was struggling. I was hard to breathe and move around job to job.
Did you realize that that was making life uncomfortable, or was that just the way it was and there wasn't much thought given to it because every day was just kind of the same and that was just what you accepted as life?
Yeah, it was just, that's what we thought. I'd know, I'd gain maybe 5-10 pounds, and I better start eating salads and more vegetables and stuff like that. But, you'd lose a little bit of weight, or I'd go out walking and then you'd just gain it back after you stopped doing any exercise or eating healthy. You just went back to the same way of living again.
So what brought on the change and what introduced plant-based living into your life?
My husband, Tim, had some medical issues and different things, and he had decided to juice first, I believe it was, and then go into plant-based lifestyle. And I didn't join him right away because I wasn't sure how long that this was going to last. Like all other diets, I thought that's what he was just going to do. So I didn't really jump on board with him at first. It took a while.
I should jump in and just say that Tim was on the podcast. He was on episode 135. And for anyone listening that hasn't listened yet to that show, it's a really intriguing story. It's a great transformation. And he didn't do this alone. Heather, you had a lot to do with that whole transformation. And I know you're very humble about it. But one of the things that I want to get into at some point during this talk, maybe a little later, is about the importance of having someone that's there to support you through the whole process. And I don't know if maybe we should just talk about it now, but maybe you could talk about the support you gave him, but also the support that he gave you in the transformation and changes that happened for you personally.
Okay, so that was a lot. So I want to know.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna just roll it back a little bit and start to get some progression. When he came home and said, I want to be plant-based or I want to start juicing, what was your initial reaction? And I know that you said that it was just another diet, but did you think that it was outside of the box, or was that just the norm?
I just figured he was just going to try something again and not stick with it. So I just said, do it. Whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. I wasn't going to tell him not to. I mean, I wanted him to be healthier, and, I'd ask him for walks from time to time. He never wanted to do it. And he really, his physical health at that time, he really couldn't do much. But, I did support him. If that's what he wanted to do, then I'd let him do it.
And at what point did you realize that this was a little bit more long-term than a fad diet?
After he started wanting to do more activity, and I could see that he was starting to lose, some weight and feeling better and moving and wanting to do things. I think it was hiking first, which I thought he was crazy, but I was like, okay, go ahead. And I just started watching his transformation, and I kind of slowly jumped on board a little bit, but I wasn't all in with it. I had gotten rid of meat, which that didn't really bother me at all, but I still held on to the other stuff that wasn't good the dairy and everything else for a while.
Like dairy and eggs and probably some fish and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So at what point did you actually take all that out? And what made that click?
I had actually me and Tim were walking in a mall, and I was never felt like I had any issues, but I started to get a pain in my side, and it wasn't just a normal cramp or anything like that. So I had gone to the doctor and we had checked on it, and he had told me that I had a uterine fibroid. And, we had talked about it for a while, and he said, well, you could have surgery. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. We'll just leave it. So
let's tell everybody what a uterine fibroid is.
it is, it's a cyst, and it's usually not cancer, but they can be small, they can be larger, but they are from too much estrogen from animal products, dairy, eggs mainly. So you have too much estrogen in you, and they can be smaller, they can be larger. They usually don't go away till menopause, and some people elect to get rid of them, others don't.
And
So
yours
it's fairly
were quite
common though, right?
It's sort of common. From what I understand, yes, my mom had them, but mine happened to be the size of a softball. So he encouraged me to have surgery, and I said, no, let's just watch it and make sure, it didn't get bigger. But me and my husband have researched and found out how dairy and eggs add to giving women more estrogen. So that's where the fibroids come from. And I had started decreasing my dairy intake, and I don't know how many months later it was, about 6 months, it started to shrink a little bit. But then when I had gone to my primary, I never told him about it. And he's like, do you know you have a fibroid? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but I'm not having surgery. And he's like, well, I would like you to go in and have a CT scan, and I'd like to see how big it is, to see where it's laying, to make sure it's not hurting any of your other organs. So I said, all right, I would do that. And I went ahead, and that's when he found out it had grown now to the size of a grapefruit, and it was pushing on my right kidney. And he strongly suggested that I have surgery and have it removed. And so when the time came, I went in and I had to have a total hysterectomy. They just had to do everything. And I was very frightened going in. I did not like being in the hospital. It was not good. It brought back way too many memories of my mother and her illness. And I said to Tim, I don't want to come here anymore. I never want to be in a hospital again. I said, so I need to change my diet. I need to do something. And I went plant-based from there. I had given up the dairy. I had already given up the meat, already given up the dairy. At that point, dairy, and then the eggs. And then it was probably about a year now, I finally had ditched the salt and the oil and the sugar and gave up my 2 Timbits. And I had arthritis in my hand, and that's totally gone now too. Along with, I had lost another 25 pounds this past year. So
you found a big difference from not just being vegetarian, but even from going whole food plant-based, taking out the salt, taking out the sugar. That made a huge difference for you and your quality of life as well.
Yes, I can work faster than I did before, which is great. I get home earlier now, and I can go up and down those stairs, and got lots of energy. I could probably do them twice now.
And there's no chance of those fibroids obviously coming back anymore? No. But in your research, what have you seen, or have you done any research for people who are eating whole food plant-based and haven't had the full hysterectomy and their cysts? Have you seen any improvement with them, or are you not part of that world at all?
I haven't really talked to anybody about it, but I know for myself that it did, I know it did work, but it started to shrink it. But, I just kind of went back to, oh, okay, it's starting to shrink. And then, I just kind of went back to my daily routine, not even thinking about it again. And, maybe it would have shrunk a little bit more, but like my doctor had said, where it was so big to begin with that it would have just kept growing. So it was, for me at that time, I needed to do that.
And that's kind of the same pattern that we see with people in diets. They want to lose 20 pounds and they start to diet and they lose 5 or 10 pounds and they say, oh, I got this. And then they go back to their old ways. And before you know it, they've gained extra weight back. So even when it's a health concern and not just a weight concern, which I guess is a health concern as well, it follows the same pattern there.
And my whole focus throughout this whole thing was never about a scale. I never even really paid attention to weight loss. I mean, obviously my clothes would start getting looser and stuff, but my main focus has always been health. It's not about a scale. I never, I need to lose 10 pounds. I need to lose 15 pounds. I mean, it's been great watching the weight come off, but I think people need to focus on their health and not the scale.
Absolutely. So I know that you did lose upwards of 25 pounds.
That was just this past year.
This past year.
I've lost 80 pounds.
80 pounds, wow.
So far. But I had lost like 55 from activity and, starting to transition to plant-based. And then I had lost, actually, I'm sorry, I should back that up. This past year I lost 25, but I had lost probably, I don't know, maybe 30, 40, and then, it just was like transitioning. I had lost some, then I had lost more once I went plant-based, and then as soon as I got rid of the sugar, oil, and salt, then I lost another 25. So
did you do that all at the same time? Did you go from vegetarian to whole food plant-based, no salt, no sugar, no oil, all at the same time? Or did you transition from vegetarian to plant-based and then do that for a while? And how did that go?
I kind of just followed after I decided to go plant-based, I had already given up. I was vegetarian. So then when I decided to go plant-based, it was whole foods, and I still struggled with the salt and the oil. And then, like I said, over about a year now, we have gotten rid of, I got rid of the salt, oil, and sugar. And so it was a process, the whole foods and then the salt, oil, and sugar.
So what was the hardest thing for you to give up?
Was the sugar, because I love those couple little Timbits. I weaned myself down to 3 Timbits, and I was like, well, that's really not going to matter that much. And like I had said, I was having trouble about a year and a half ago before I got rid of the salt, oil, and sugar, and my hand had arthritis in it, and I carry a lot of stuff when I work, so it was really starting to affect me. And I'm like, well, it can't be the Timbits. And so I actually went down to 2. Well, then I went down to 1. I'm like, this is so stupid. Why would I even eat these when they don't make me feel good? And I kind of played with it a little bit. I tried. Well, I wouldn't eat salt, oil, or sugar. And then as soon as I started again, my hand would start bothering me all over again. And I was like, this is stupid. Why would I even hang on to these when I don't really like them actually anyways? It's just like you think you have to go through a drive-through and, get coffee, and you have to have a donut with you, but you don't.
Yeah, and
so I don't do that anymore.
For those people who don't know what a Timbit is, it's basically a donut hole. It's a small round donut, for those of you that don't have that wherever you live. But no, it's good. But it's
a Canadian thing.
Yeah, it just goes to show you the power that food has, and whatever you put into your body can do one of 2 things. And we've talked about this so many times. It could either heal you or harm you. And that's a perfect example of how food just added to the discomfort of your body and stopped you from living your best life.
Yes.
So did your whole food plant-based transition line up with Tim's, or did he take out the salt and sugar before you?
Oh, we did. We did that together. The salt we did later on.
Okay.
Because he had been whole food for quite a while, and then we did it together. Then we did it together, but then I struggled a little bit, and then that's when I was like, okay, that's it, I'm done.
So was there any point that you were making 2 different dinners? How old were your children at this point? Are they at home? Were they still at home?
Our children are in their 20s now, so no, they were just, our daughter still lives at home, so our son he was just maybe a senior, so they would eat whatever we had, but they still ate their own stuff when they went out with their friends and that.
And then what you were cooking for Tim, you were eating as well?
Actually, I don't cook.
Oh, wow.
I am not a cook. I was when the kids were younger, but when Tim decided to go into this lifestyle, he started cooking, and we'd start sampling his things because he'd be eating potatoes, fries, whatever good stuff, and we'd be eating our pizza and wings still. And we'd start sampling his food, and then we started liking his food. So he's just started cooking then. He's cooked ever since, and I do the cleanup, which is fine with me.
I think that's a really important lesson because Adam had done the same thing, because when he decided that he was going to be plant-based, I thought he was crazy. I didn't know what vegan really meant. I really didn't know what plant-based meant. And all I knew is that I had 2 little kids, and I was just learning how to cook and just learning how to cook gluten-free. And all of a sudden, he wants to be plant-based, and all I knew how to make was chicken and fish. And he just started making his own food. And I think a lot of men will want to become plant-based, but will use the excuse, well, I don't have the support of my wife, so I can't do it. But if you really want to do it, you can make a way to do it. And especially with Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and microwave rice and canned beans, there doesn't necessarily have to be much cooking involved either. Sometimes it's just throwing things together, and sometimes it's just preparing it. So I think that a lot of listeners will have a good role model in Tim and Adam, and seeing how men can do it on their own for sure.
Well, I did actually just learn how to use the Instapot last week, so we had a breakthrough here.
Oh, congratulations. You could call me up if you need some help. I'm not an expert, but I've had mine a while. And that's hard to mess up. Actually, I make some of my best soups in there. So what are some of your favorite meals now?
Oh, I like everything. I mean, I really don't have a favorite. Well, I shouldn't say that. I like when Tim makes me French fries and they're baked in the oven, and that's one of my favorite things. I like everything. I like, stir fry rice. I should say I'm not fond of quinoa, and Tim found a way to make me like that, and he makes what's called quinoa fritters.
Okay.
And so it's quinoa and corn and a little bit nutritional yeast and some other stuff, and like instead of a rice veggie burger, it's a quinoa burger.
That sounds delicious. Emotionally, what has Tim done for you to really support you the most through your transition and your journey?
Just kept encouraging me. He wasn't ever like, oh, you should eat this or you should have this. See, this is where I'm at. And we just did it together, and we just, worked together. We've always supported each other. So, if I would have, when we back up before, he never really said, oh, you shouldn't be eating that or you shouldn't be having that. He just let me do my thing and let me figure it out, on my own. And I just let him do his, have what he wanted. And I'll never forget, probably a couple years, probably the first year he was into it, he always at Valentine's Day brings me and my daughter flowers. So he, instead of flowers, he had went out and he got a vase and he did grapes, and he made all this cute little fruit bouquet for both of us, which was really neat, and it was really thoughtful. We both were very happy with it.
That's really cute.
So I think now's a good time to talk about the support thing. I think that the two of you really work well together. You're supporting each other in every way. And for anybody that follows one or both of you on social media, you know that, Heather, you're in every picture now running with Tim. And you guys are holding hands, crossing finishing lines. And you've gotten into running. And the plant-based journey isn't only about food for you. It's become about exercise and movement. And you've become a big runner. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the support system between the two of you and how and why you guys are crossing finishing lines holding hands.
So why choose Amrita bars? Choose Amrita bars because they are free of the top allergens. All Amrita bars contain no peanuts, no dairy, no eggs, no soy, and no gluten. They're raw plant-based nutrition, and most of all, they are kid-friendly for a healthier, tastier spin on snack time. Their bars are designed to satisfy even the pickiest of eaters. Adam uses these bars to fuel before, during, and after his workouts, and the kids always want a mini bar when we're out for the day or before they go on to their activities. To get your high-protein bars, superfood bars, variety pack, or their new minis, go to amritahealthfoods.com and enter Plant Trainers as the promo code to get 15% off your order.
Well, several years ago, Tim was not able to move and do a lot. And when he started hiking and running, I was excited that we could now start walking and doing things together. And he started running and, well, let's try a 5K. So we did that. So, it was the most, that first 5K we ever did, I can't even explain to you how we both felt. People thought there was something wrong with us, like there was something terrible happened. It was just so amazing that we both were able to finish it and do that 3 miles. It was like, I don't know, I felt like we were there forever. And it took us forever to finish. And, then Tim's like, okay, well, would you want to do a 10K? I'm like, oh, that's way too much. I don't know about that. So I'm like, all right. So I just kind of went along with it. So we did that. And then he decided to do half marathons. I'm like, no, I'm out. That's way too far for me. And so he did a few, and I'd watch him, and I'd go, and I'd support him and be there at the end, and was just so thrilled for him. And then I'm like, well, if he can do it, I guess I could try to do one. So I'm like, all right. So then we went into the halves, and I just love it. It's just so freeing, and you can get out there. I listen to music. I put my earbuds in, and I don't have to take a phone call. I don't have to answer to anybody. You're just out there, and it just makes you feel so good. And when you can accomplish things, it makes you feel better. And I don't know, then Tim had done a marathon, and I figured there's no way I'd ever be able to do that. Well, I had thought about it for quite a while, and I said, I was looking on we have what's called Buffalo Runners, local races and different things, and I had found this marathon that was close to my 45th birthday, and I said, do you think we'll have enough time to train for this? Because it was kind of a short notice. From what I understand, I don't know how long training plans are, but I just figured he would know. So can we do it or not? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, I think I can do it. I think I'm up to it. Well, we did it, but it was bad. I thought I was going to die at the end. I thought I was going to not make it. But I got through it and did it. And I just pushed through, and it was, it's amazing when you push yourself, and if you don't give up, what you can accomplish. And just in eating this way, it gives you so much more energy. It doesn't weigh you down. You feel good about yourself. You feel good. I don't know. To me, eating this way just makes me feel so much better in all areas of my life.
Yeah, the food definitely has a big impact on the way we feel and our ability to perform. But I really think that having somebody in your corner there to support you in everything you're doing and to continue to encourage you and to push you to be the best you could be goes really so far. I know that you, Shush, were there for my Ironman and my second one, and you're always encouraging me. And it really makes a big difference when you have people pushing you and supporting you when you're going through these big challenges. And to see the pictures of you and Tim going through all this process that we've been seeing on social media, it's really beautiful, and it's very inspirational to a lot of people. And everybody listening wants to know, so now you did a marathon, what's coming next? Because that's what people always want to know.
Well, we had finished 50K. We had done 31 miles last month, and I just signed up for 50 mile.
Yeah.
Next October, 3 days before my 46th birthday.
Nice.
Wow, congratulations.
But Tim's my rock. He's always been my rock. And I just am so thankful for second chances in life, and just thankful that he decided to want to change his life for us and for our family.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And so... where do you
Sorry.
Tears are flowing across the internet right now, everybody. So I'm not editing this out, but
I'm hot. I need to take off my shirt.
We got tears because it's a beautiful thing when people have support. And so now somebody that's listening.
Also the other thing is that, I mean, we can really relate. I mean, your story is a little bit different than Tim's, and my story is a little bit different than Heather, but we both know what it's like to see either an end in your mind, or to not like what the future is going to hold, and to be able to turn that around and to be able to spend time together. And I mean, my half marathon, I would not have made it that last mile if Adam wasn't holding my hand. I think he literally pulled me over that finish line, pulled me over that finish line. And, you know, had we not gone through those experiences, those traumatic experiences that we had been through, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. And had you not gone through what you went through, you wouldn't be sitting on the other side of this right now either. So, and really, that's what we're trying to do here on the Plant Trainers podcast. You know, we try to talk to people in all different age groups, but the more people that we can get to say, look at what Tim and Heather had to go through, look at what Adam and Shoshana had to go through to get to this quality of life. Maybe we should make a change before we hit that traumatic experience. And maybe we should support each other and work together with your partner, with your children, in your marriage, whatever, whoever it is that is your support system, to really sit down with them and say, this is the quality of life I want. Now, what are the steps that I need to take to get there? Because for people where it seemed impossible, it really became possible. And we need to support each other to get there, because it's just too hard to go through some of those other things that we had to go through.
Definitely. But then the people listening that don't have the significant other, don't have the easy support person that they're living with, what do we say to those people? Where do they get their support from if they feel they need it? Who do they look to?
If they could find communities online, Facebook, internet, Instagram. I have a few friends that don't have a husband or wife, or they have support of their family. If they can look to a sister, a brother, or, a neighbor. But if we can just all try to reach out, like me and Tim and you and Adam, if we can all look out for those people and let them know that we're here to help them, even though we have a husband or a wife, we're willing to be there for them. And by doing like your podcasts and the different Facebook groups, that we can be there to support them and help them by questions, or even showing up for a race if you live near them, and be there for them and encourage them, whether it's a race or whatever it is that they're doing.
Absolutely. And I mean, it reminds me of an email that we got a couple of weeks ago from a single mom, and she has a daughter who she takes care of who's not very mobile. And so they support each other, but in a way the mom's kind of on her own, because she doesn't really have the support of her adult child to help out in any way. But I guess there's emotional support that goes there, and arthritis has gotten better, mobility has gotten better. And just by listening to the podcast and taking action on a lot of what we say and a lot of what our guests say, because we're always big on actionable tips. And it's just amazing how, if you really want to, you find that support. You find that one other person in your small little town who's maybe vegetarian, or maybe vegan if you're lucky. And then I know that one of my past clients actually joined a different church. She joined a Seventh-day Adventist church because a lot of their congregation is actually plant-based or vegan. So she found friends amongst them, although it's not actually the way that she wants to pray and spend her time. It's who she wants to be spending her time with. So when there's a will, there's a way. You just have to make it that important.
Yeah, I mean, if you're serious about changing your life, you're going to find a way to do it. And if you're not serious about it, you're going to keep coming up with excuses over and over again. And what we try to do is try to get people to make that realization so that they can make the choice. And they do have the choice. They just have to make it. They have to decide. And that's a key.
Yeah.
So what is your exercise regime like now? Are you on a training schedule, or is it just when you could get the hours in?
Not right now. I'm just, we're kind of just out running, and we're just doing a little bit of running here and there. I work every day, so I move a lot. I move around a lot. I have a lot of buildings and stairs and things I do, so I do that. And I try to run, but then if we're working towards something, then I'll start up a training program again, and probably pretty soon here. Tim's going to be doing something, so I try to join along with him, and I might not go as far as him if I don't need to, but I will start, go out and run, and depending on how many. I don't do it every single day. I don't run every single day, but I'm physically moving every day.
And that's great that your job keeps you moving. And we talk a lot about how people can be moving at work if their job's a little bit more sedentary. And I think I saw a picture. Did I just see a picture of you and Tim dressed like Santa doing a run?
Yes, we're actually... Oh, we decided to go out and we bought some Christmas outfits, and we couldn't go out today because Tim had to work later and gets dark, but tomorrow we'll be out and about, and it's called Operation, I think, Christmas Selfie or something like that. So we'll run through our town again, and we might take different selfies with people, or we'll go over to another neighborhood near one of my sisters. We told our cousin we're going to show up there's a trail over there that we run, so we're just out having fun and, just trying to make people laugh too, I guess.
That's amazing. That's great.
You could go out and have exercise, but you can have fun with it too.
And that's a very important point, that it should be about having fun, because if you're having fun doing it, it's going to be something that you're typically going to want to continue to do, right? If you're doing it just for the strict training and you're not enjoying it, then what's the point? But I love that you guys are running around the neighborhood dressed up. I bet you're going to get a bunch of people that are going to start wanting to run with you guys because it's so much fun.
Well, that would be great. I hope so. I told them they can come join us. I've said on Facebook, we might be in your area, so look for us.
That's great.
So we didn't really talk about how this has impacted your kids. How are they doing with all this?
My daughter lives at home. She's 20, and I would say now she's probably only almost about like 98%, because she just eats what's here, She tries to take stuff with her. She's gotten a lot better as of going out with her friends. She'll try to choose a salad or something better. There are times where they go out and, she doesn't totally follow plant-based, but, she'll get there. She's got to make that choice for herself. Our son is 23 and he doesn't live at home. But he did tell me the other day at Thanksgiving, he said he was vegan now. So which is great.
Before we wrap up, what actionable tips do you have today for people who are ready to start giving up the sugar, salt, and animal products?
I would say do this for your health. Just start a little bit each, just try a little bit. Try to get rid of the meat for a while. Try to get rid of the dairy. Give it a few days. Just try it. You don't have anything to lose by trying it, and see how you feel. Everybody's different, so it's up to them. They got to make the decision that they want to do it for their health or weight loss. And I say do it for your health, because when you focus on, I want to lose weight, and you're only focusing on the weight loss, you're going to be looking at a scale every day. And if you don't lose 5 pounds within the week that you think you should, then you're just going to go right back to eating the way you were. So if you can focus on, you want it to be your health, even if you don't feel like you have any health problems, give it a try, and you probably will see that you will feel much better after you go plant-based.
And the truth is that the weight falling off is just a byproduct of eating that way and moving a bit, and you're just going to feel so much better. You're totally right.
And you could do the Timbit test.
Yes, you could do that. Or,
or whatever your Timbit vice is.
Try like a meatless and dairy-free Monday or Tuesday or whatever, and just try different recipes without the meat and the dairy. It's not that bad. You will survive.
You will definitely survive. Absolutely.
It's actually quite good.
It's delicious, if you ask me. Great. We wanted to thank you so much for your honesty today. Thank you so much for sharing some really personal moments about you, yourself, and your mom. And we had a little bit of tears here today, but I really, really am grateful that you were able to open up to us and talk to us about it. And I really do think that it's going to have a massive effect on other people and allow them to take big action in their lives.
And I think it's amazing that you're sharing your whole journey on social media all the time. There's great pictures of you doing what you're doing and continuing to move. And there's no doubt that it's inspiring people all over the world, because that's what the internet allows us to do. So thank you so much for sharing that. If somebody listening wants to connect with you, where would be the best place for them to reach out?
Facebook. It's Heather Kaufman, and I'll try to open it a little more. I've had it kind of closed down a little bit because I've just It's just been me. I've kind of tried to keep things private, but private hasn't worked now for a while. So you just shoot me a friend request or any messages you want. I'd be happy to answer what I can. But I want to thank you, Adam and Shoshona, for having me today, inviting me to your podcast. I really appreciate it, and I was very happy to be on here today.
Thank you so much. We'll link to your Facebook in the show notes as well as the episode with Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Plant Trainers Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast listening platforms. We appreciate the feedback we receive from you. Every time we get a 5-star rating or review on iTunes from one of our fans, it ensures other people will find us too. Thanks to our patrons. To become a patron, visit www.patreon.com/planttrainers. Even supporting us with $1 really makes a difference. Connect and follow us on Instagram and Twitter @PlantTrainers. Like Plant Trainers on Facebook, join our newsletter, and check out our website at www.planttrainers.com for awesome plant-based recipes and a list of our services. Email your questions to info@planttrainers.com so we can answer them on our upcoming Facebook Lives. We hope we've inspired you today. Join us again next time, and have a healthy day.